What's up everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today's video is going to be in a slightly different format. I'm going to do like a behind the scenes-ish kind of Q&A while I put my makeup on. I put a poll out on Instagram just about an hour ago asking you all to tell me what to film because I didn't know what to film today. I'm going to kind of quick fire answer some of those questions in today's video while I put my makeup on. I like watching other creators on YouTube get ready and kind of do these behind the scenes things because usually I kind of put myself as together as I know how to for these videos because there's people watching them, and I definitely wear more makeup on the days that I'm filming than I would on a day that I wore makeup but I wasn't filming. I just kind of want to like give you the look behind the curtain basically while I kind of go through these Q&A questions. I don't do a good job with my makeup actually. I don't know what I'm doing. Navigating the sliding scale conversation, which I mean that could mean any number of things I guess, but when I hear that phrased that way, what I'm thinking about is, you know, how do you tell your clients about your sliding scale? Which is a big question. The sliding scale is intended legally and ethically to really be reserved based on financial need and not somebody just saying like, I would like to spend less money on therapy, please and thank you. I actually have a whole video about sliding scales, which might actually be the case about a lot of these questions in this video. So any videos that I have that already directly answer your questions, I'll link to those below. But generally, the way that I've come to approach the sliding scale conversation, which is usually with a new client or if somebody's circumstances change in partway through therapy, is I let folks know that I have a reduced rate that's based on income. I have an actual scale based on income. I let folks know that they can let me know what their income is, their gross monthly income, and I will check their sliding scale to see if they qualify for a lower rate. Okay, it's kind of hard to do makeup while talking to a camera. It's just a new experience. Ooh, rationales for processing and dealing with clinician competition versus allyship. I couldn't agree more that this is such a problem. I have said it before, but I don't think I've said it in a little while, and it deserves repeating. Clinicians are not competitors. They are your friends. They are your referral sources. They are the people you can consult with, and I like your phrasing, they are your allies, hopefully. For some reason, we've gotten it in our heads, or a lot of folks have gotten it in their heads, that we're each other's competition. Like if a client is going to you instead of to me, it's like you took my client. And I don't actually buy into that mentality at all. I found the more that I have friendly connections with fellow therapists, the more referrals I get, period, and the more people I can refer to. Okay, tips on creating a sense of community in private practice. It can be so isolating. This feels connected to what we were just talking about. I do have an old video about how to avoid isolation in private practice, but it is worth restating again. If you're feeling isolated in private practice, one, I hope you feel validated. It's super common to feel isolated in private practice, and know that there are a lot of avenues available to you to help you combat that isolation. If you're working solo in private practice and you're working in an office, you can work in a suite of other therapists, and you can just be intentional about connecting with those folks. You could join a local Facebook group of therapists and either just connect digitally or meet with some of those people in person, particularly if there's folks that you feel drawn to. You can also join a local listserv of therapists, or if there's like a certain specialty that you have, if they have a listserv. And again, if you want to meet in person too, you can connect with other people who are local on that listserv. You can also join your local associations, and you can definitely connect with folks there. And then amongst people you already know, if there's anyone who's a therapist that you have really liked along the way, reach out to them. I mean, that's literally what I did when I moved back to San Diego. I had been gone for 10 years, and there were some people that I had not talked to in 10 years, but I remembered them and I looked them up, and anyone who was still around, I just reached out. Not everyone responded, but of the people who responded, like those are my core therapist connections here. All right, I'm like getting closer to being done with my makeup, but I have so many questions to answer still. Okay, how to be present at work and at home as a therapist. I hear you, I get it. Maybe I can just relate with that phase because my little ones are super small right now. They demand a lot of your time and energy and mental emotional energy, but I guess that could also happen pretty much anytime. And I'm aware for therapists who are offering exclusively virtual therapy, working from their homes, that's just another layer that makes it hard to separate your family life and your work life. When I was a trainee driving to a clinic, I had a lot of trouble not bringing my work home with me. The heaviest thing that had happened on any given clinical day seeing clients would weigh on me. I'd be like repeating the hard parts of it in my brain as I drove home, and then I'd be eating dinner with my husband and I'm still thinking about it in the back of my mind, even though I'm not saying anything about it, which is also a layer. Like, you can't go and talk about it with your loved ones in the way that you might want to, except to be like, yeah, I had a hard work day. Some of my clients are going through a lot because, confidentiality. So one thing that I started practicing is having some kind of mental practice for when I need to be done thinking about work. So back in my trainee days, when I was trying this out, I would drive home from work and I told myself, once I get from the freeway on-ramp onto the freeway and I start driving home, that's when my brain needs to be ready to transition out of work mode, and do whatever I could to kind of coax myself out of work mode. So I maybe I'd play a favorite song to sing along to while I drove home. And then if somehow it was still weighing on me by the time I got home, then I would try to reach out to a trusted colleague, like a consultation type therapist colleague who I had enough safety to share a little bit about what's going on that's bugging me, to kind of like vent it out a little bit. Some other things I do to try to create boundaries between work and home life is I have a whole like pre-game routine. I shared it a little while ago now. I think I was pregnant with my now almost 2-year-old daughter, but I still have a pre-game routine where I transition my brain out of mom mode into work mode. So you can check that out if that's something you might be interested in, and kind of making your own pre-game routine. All right, we still have questions rolling in while I'm going here, which I think is kind of fun. It's live, but it's not live. It's dynamic. The next person says, imposter syndrome for new therapists. Just started my internship and struggling. Oh my goodness, imposter syndrome. I mean, I don't just have one video on this. I have like many videos where we talk about this because it's so prominent. Like, I get it. I have imposter syndrome. I have it right now with private practice skills. Like, it's so part of our human nature to experience imposter syndrome. So if that's you, just one, I hope you feel validated. Like, this is part of the normal learning curve. And as long as we're doing something that feels novel, we're in the learning curve, we're trying something new, or we have new clients all the time, we're not just working with the same people forever, then imposter syndrome is inevitable for most people to some degree. And it's just a question of what do you do with that so that you can keep having a healthy approach to life. There was an attendee at a workshop that I was speaking at who referenced research saying that early career therapists tend to provide more effective care to their clients than therapists later in their career. When the attendee said that, I thought, that makes sense to me. That totally makes sense to me. Back when I was a trainee, I remembered all the criteria for all the diagnoses according to back then it was the DSM-4, and now it's like, I gotta pull that DSM out if it's anything outside of this like very specific window of diagnoses that I'm super familiar with. All that to say, if you're an early career therapist, you likely have a lot more knowledge, and also you have a lot more kind of gusto to kind of say like, I'm excited to be here, I'm a new therapist. And then when you finally get to see clients the first time, it can be super exciting, and any new thing you're gonna like go double, triple check whatever the research and literature trainings are on that topic. I mean, I still do that sometimes, but it was like weekly when I was a trainee. There's a freshness of like, I'm excited to be here and I'm gonna do my best. You are more than equipped to go look up that information, get some training, go to consult group, go to supervision if you're not yet licensed, or if you need to get extra supervision after you're licensed, you're more than equipped to access those things. So no need to kind of think that you're ill-prepared. End rant. Hope that was helpful. I'm less filtered because I am focusing some part of my attention on my makeup here. Okay, this next one actually feels related. I'm struggling with wanting to learn about so much stuff professionally, but also confronting the reality that there are only so many things I can learn. Amen. I think entrepreneurs in particular can relate with this, or I can. The way I've approached this, and I don't know if this is the best way to approach it, is to think about it as like, I'm choosing a lane for now, and this is gonna be the thing that I'm learning in this time in my life. Like, if I'm really into wildlife restoration gardening in my backyard, which is something I'm doing right now, I'm going to invest heavily in learning that, while I might be pushing pause on learning a bunch of new clinical tools in like a deep dive format. And then maybe next quarter or in 6 months, I'm going to swap hats and say, okay, now I'm going to learn this new, I've been really wanting to learn this RODBT thing. I'm going to do that for a while. And that's one way to approach it if you feel like you have like multifaceted interests. And that so far has been the best way for me, that I've been able to find balance between a whole lot of things that I really want to learn about. Let's see if I can answer a question while I do mascara. That's asking a lot. Okay, the next item just says scheduling for a private practice. You have options. You really do. You can do it however you want. Genuinely, I believe that you can figure out what works best for you. You can totally do pen and paper scheduling, and I did that for the longest time. I could still do it now, but I think clients appreciate having a more automated system, and for sure, no-shows have declined significantly. A lot of times I'll have clients show up on time and say, oh, I forgot about our appointment, but because we had the reminder, I was able to make it. Sweet. And look at that, I finished my makeup. So now I feel more like makeup to Maria. We got one in the DMs that says, how to market myself when I'm not great at putting myself out there. Is mental health an arena of the young? I'm 56 and just getting started as a mental health therapist. Congrats to you. I'm curious about any stigma. It's so interesting to hear different people's perspectives, because I think it's possible for any one of us, whatever phase of life we are, whoever we are, to imagine that whatever characteristics there are about us, that they could somehow be a negative. When I was first starting out as a trainee, I was quite young. I finished my doctorate by the time I was 25, and I was working in private practice as a 25-year-old. I was so self-conscious about how young I was. In fact, one of my very first videos for private practice skills is about, is it too young to be in private practice in your 20s? I always had this mindset that anyone who's kind of a little bit further along in life had an advantage as a therapist, because they clearly, if you look at pictures and you look like you're not 20 in your pictures, you come across as though you have a bit more life experience, and I perceived that as an advantage. Part of what you said in your question is, I'm not great at putting myself out there. So I would say to that, to that point, figure out what version of putting yourself out there kind of best fits for you. Or if you don't want to put yourself out there, you don't have to. You can leverage SEO or other variable, online directories, whatever you want to do to bring clients into your practice if it's not your vibe to kind of put yourself out there. There are some more questions, but I think I might leave it there. And there is one question that I think I'm going to do a full video on and post that for next week. Would love to hear more about private practice skills, business, building and creating courses. I'll touch on that in next week's video and spend a whole video talking about it, but I think I'll leave this Q&A style video here. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with scheduling, notes, and billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform and so many other features to help you manage your practice. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Have I been out of focus like literally this whole time? I don't know what happened. I'm pretty sure a significant amount of that video, my face was totally out of focus, and I think I'm still gonna post it. On that note, especially given that last piece of information that I just discovered, thank you for watching this video if you made it this far. Whatever you're up to in life, whatever you got going on, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.